Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I'm very excited today to be talking about another passion of mine. Now, most people know me for the prophetic, for ministry, but you may not know that I'm actually a business person. I'm what they would call a serial entrepreneur. I've had a very interesting career. I've done anything, most of the things that you can think of in business. I've tried to do them. But right now, what I have settled in the e-commerce industry. That's where I do a lot of business there, and it's an exciting field. Very, very challenging, very tough, but we learn, all right? But I've been in construction, I've been in consulting. I used to be the head of SMME development for a consulting company as well. I've been an incubation coach, I've been a senior venture manager, I've started many ventures. Some of them are still operating up to this day. I have raised lots and lots of entrepreneurs through coaching and consulting and so forth. There's so many things. I mean, I remember one young man that he was young then, he's not so young anymore. His name is Sizwe. I hope Sizwe you're watching. He still follows me. I still mentor him for business. But we discovered him in a township in South Africa called Kagiso. He was selling chicken feet, roasted chicken feet by the side of the road, and he was doing very small business, and he was one of my entrepreneurs. So we started to work together and we started to develop his business. Long story short, within 6 months, we raised 3 million rand for him, and he started to have mobile food kitchens. Can you imagine, from selling chicken feet? And I remember clearly that a chicken feet was one rand 15 cents. Imagine. So if he sold 100, he would make like 100 rand. But we took him from there and helped him to come to a place where he raised 3 million rand, which he invested in his business. And his business is operating up to this day, even though he had a few challenges here and there, right? So this is my passion. My passion is to help business people, particularly small to medium enterprise, or even including micro enterprises. Basically, if you're the kind of person who wants to start something from scratch, usually I get very interested in working with you, because I have some tried and tested methods and experiences that we can share to make sure that you do well. So this very first episode I'm doing in this series is called the ABCs of venture creation, or the ABCs of starting a business, if you like. That's where we start, and then from there, every time that I record, we can always then go to the next thing and so forth. But let us start right at the beginning, right? The ABCs of venture creation, or the ABCs of starting a business, or how to start a business from scratch. So there are a number of methods and tricks and tactics and strategies that I would like to just share with you. Remember, if you would like some mentorship, reach out as well. And I can maybe structure something for you. All right. Now, I'm not going to throw at you things that come from textbooks and things that come from big colleges and so forth. What we want to focus on, is stuff that works. That's what we want to focus on, stuff that works. Before you can even apply MBA level type of education and so forth, what is it that works for the common guy who's on the streets, who's at home, who wants to start a business, or even someone educated but who knows the right jargon and the strategies and all of that, but has never started something from scratch? Okay, so that's where we're going to start. And I might also, because I love to compare things from the Word of God and so forth, I might also be, going into the word here and there to make some illustrations. But let us start with the ABCs. Okay, so you have decided that you want to start a business. Okay, the first thing you need to do is you need to get yourself in the right frame of mind. Okay, that is the first thing. You need to get yourself in the right frame of mind. Now, in ministry, we say that before God makes the ministry, he makes the minister first. You can rush to open a ministry, or you can rush to go into ministry, but your ministry will not prosper until God has formed the ministry. I'm not saying you shouldn't open the ministry. I'm just saying that you can open it, but God will use the early stages of your ministry to shape you Because remember, the minister is the one who gives birth to the ministry, not the other way around. So it's the same thing in business. Your mindset is very important. You must get to that point where you know in your heart that I am now going to do this. You must be settled in that, and you must be committed. Because if you start a business and you are half-hearted, or a project or whatever venture, it doesn't matter how small, you won't finish it. Entrepreneurship is challenging. You really need to make up your mind. Okay, so you must get your inner game right. That is the first thing you must do. Now, when I say get the inner game right, this is how you get your inner game right. You don't look at what's happening around you. You don't look at your economy. You don't look at everything. Those ones are important for the next stage that I will talk about. But you yourself, you must get to that place where you start to believe in yourself that I can do this. I believe I can do this. I may not have the evidence yet, but I believe in myself enough to say I'm going to do that. So get your inner game right, okay? You must call forth the entrepreneur in you, even though you have never done anything entrepreneurial. So how would you know that you're not an entrepreneur, or you're not going to be good at it, if you never actually place a demand on that thing within you? You have to, okay? So you have to do it, okay? If you're going to know this thing, you just have to do it, okay? So that is the first thing. You be settled on the inside, be determined, call for that entrepreneur and say, I'm going to do it. I don't know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do this, but I'm settled, I am committed, I am focused, I am determined to do this. That's number one. Now, when you do that, we can come back now to your idea. So number two, you now need what is called a concept. So that is now in terms of the actual project. You now need to have the concept. The concept is what you call the seed, okay? Everything starts with a seed. Everything starts with a seed, okay? Everything, even when God created the earth and the heavens and the earth in the book of Genesis chapter 1, the Bible says that he created, he brought forth trees, fruit trees, in whom was the seed. In whom was the seed, okay? So God didn't need to create vast forests. He just needed to create some trees, and then those trees, the seed in the fruit, when they fell to the ground or were eaten by animals and so forth, they were then spread everywhere. And wherever the animals went or humans went, they were now populating the forests and so forth. So everything starts with a seed. So even if you may not have a lot of money, a lot of customers, a lot of what, you must have the seed first, just the concept. The concept is enough. You don't need a forest, you just need one fruit tree, or you just need one fruit. From there, so I remember the great Miles Monroe always used to say that every orange contains within it a forest. Okay, so a lot of people are stuck in that place where they are like, I don't have so much, I don't have these resources, I don't have those resources, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have that. You look at what you don't have, all right? No, what you need to focus on is do I have a concept, yes or no? If you have a concept, then we can move to stage number two. So when you have that concept now, you need to develop it. So the Bible says in the book of Habakkuk, let him write the vision down, he who runs, right? So you can't run without a vision. So put your concept down. When I say put your concept down, I don't mean do a business plan. I don't like business plans. You do a business plan when you want to raise capital. But you need to have a concept. A concept is just to guide you. So write it in the language that you understand. This is what I'm thinking to do, and this is how I think I can do it, and this is how I see it unfolding. So let's have that concept. So number one is what? Is that concept. So when you now have that concept and you say, okay, this is what I want to do. I remember when I wanted to do e-commerce, my concept was I'm going to sell on Facebook Marketplace. So that's a concept. That was before I even grew to where I am, where I have got 7 platforms and I have developed my own online platforms and so forth. The concept was I want to sell something online because I'm not the kind of person who likes to go door to door talking to people and selling stuff. I prefer that people must come to me. So I knew I needed to create something online that would bring people to me. And then I don't have to be, like interacting a lot with them. So that was the concept. So I said, what is the easiest way to do this? Then I went on Facebook Marketplace under my own name. And then I started to sell simple things. As I was doing that, I started to see that, wow, this is working, all right? And then from there, we were too big for my personal name. So we then had to go and create a business page, a Facebook business page. We became too big for that. And then we went on Take a Lot. And then we went on Macro. And we went on all of these platforms. So that's a concept. That's the power of a concept. So never stop developing your business just because your seed is still a small tree that's growing. That's where most people miss it. You can't plant a seed today and expect that tomorrow it's going to come out. No, 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 no. You have to really work on it, work on your concept, keep on watering it and let it grow. Okay. Now, once you have a concept, then the second thing that you need to do is you need to test that concept. Now, when you test that concept, there are two things that you need to do. Number one, you need to test quickly your concept. And then number two, you need to test it in an inexpensive way. In other words, in a cheap way. Okay? Now, I know a lot of people make a big mistake. Once they have a concept, what they do is that they go and look for resources, take loans, take blocks of offices, buy vehicles and everything. You have not even tested the concept. You have not even made one sale. But you believe so much in your concept that you think that I must go and get these things. That's a big mistake. When you fail like that, you then fail in a very expensive way. All right? You fail expensively. No, that's not wise. You need to test your concept efficiently and inexpensively. Okay? So what you do, that is where we come to the pilot phase now. From concept, then you go to the pilot phase. So what you do when you're testing this pilot is that you don't actually try to establish a bakery if you want to sell bread. Find a place where you can buy bread, for example, inexpensively, okay? And then you start to sell with a small markup. You're not making a lot of money, but you're testing to see, do I have the skills? Do I have the logistics for this? Do I have the pricing right? What about my marketing? Am I getting my marketing right? My sales, my advertising, is it right? So you use the pilot to do all those things, right? This is before you've bought a truck. If you need a truck, you hire one. You don't buy one. So at the pilot phase, don't buy anything. Don't buy equipment. Don't buy nothing. Don't buy offices. Don't rent offices. Operate even from home. It must be very inexpensive. Okay. So when you do that, so you must do it in a very cheap way. Then go all out to test your market. Now, to test that concept. Now, at this stage, I then want to introduce another phrase called the minimum viable product testing, the MVP, right? Minimum viable product. Now, some of you, if you might have seen online sometimes, let's say BMW is about to release a vehicle or something like that. You see that they will have a prototype that they start to test on the roads, and you may not really see how the final product looks like, but they'll be testing it. It's not like the final product, but what is important is they're testing it for agility, they're testing it for speed and all of those things. So a minimum viable product is something that is viable, but in a minimum way. This is before you throw the bells and the whistles and all of those things that make this thing flashy and expensive. You just want to see, does this work? Okay, so a minimum viable product is a product that is stripped of the whistles, the bells and whistles, but it is enough for you to test your market. All right, so that's what you do. Before you can go and sell or manufacture laptops, just buy laptops and sell and see for yourself, does this work? Okay, so you need to MVP your business. You need to MVP your idea. You need to MVP your product to see, before you mass produce it, is the prototype good enough? Is the prototype good enough? I'm reminded of a story in the Bible where Jesus was talking to his disciples, and he said that the works that I do, greater works than these shall you do. All right, the works that I do, greater works than these shall you do. All right, what he was actually saying was that what you are seeing with me, I'm the only one who has this power, right? Right now, there's one of me here. He's saying I'm the prototype, I'm the MVP here, okay? But you guys are going to do even greater works. Why? Because when the Holy Spirit comes and fills you, you're going to go out there with all this power. You have learned from me, you've seen everything, we've tested this thing works, okay? So you're gonna go there and do greater works than than me. You're going to preach to people. They'll even be born again. There'll be spiritual regeneration, something which was not possible in the Old Testament. So Jesus couldn't even do it. What is that? That is the minimum viable product. So he started also with only 12 disciples who were very close. Then after that, after he had MVP'd them and tested them and taught them everything and so forth, when he was convinced that these guys know what they are doing now, they know how to do this thing. That's when he says, now the Holy Spirit is coming and go into the entire world and, be my disciples and make disciples of nations rather, and preach the gospel and all of that. Now we've got a church, the professing Christians are like, I think 3 or 4 billion, from just a group of 12. So that is the concept of MVP. You start with a little, you work on it until you have mastered the game, and then you scale it. Okay, so that is what you must be doing when you are piloting something. Now, another thing after you pilot or during pilot, you must also test what is called traction. Traction is to see the interest that I have experienced right now. Is it going to stay like that, or it's just fleeting? So you don't want things that are fleeting. You want things that show promise. So when you test for traction, you are trying to see if your product or your business model is going to work in the long term. All right. So test to see if there is this thing. Does it have legs? Does it have legs? Okay. So in our case, because we did Facebook Marketplace, it worked. We went on to do Facebook business. It worked. We went on to Take a Lot. It worked and so forth. We could now see that there's something. And for real, even though that was almost 5 years ago, e-commerce is so big right now and it continues to grow. Why? It has got traction. So we could see that there's traction. Only then did I then really invest substantial resources into the business. Why? Because there was traction. So most people make this mistake of pouring resources and so many things and so forth, and they haven't even MVP'd this thing, they haven't piloted it, they haven't tested for traction. And guess what? That's why we have got 90% of businesses failing within the first 5 years. 85 or 80 to 85% of businesses apparently fail within the first year. Why? Because a lot of people just throw this thing. They don't understand that it is a formula. So you start with your concept, you pilot it. Within the pilot, you make sure that you MVP it, and then you test for traction. Now, when you realize that this thing has got traction, then you go to the next stage. The next stage now is called the launch stage. All right, so now you're going to launch. Why? Because you now know that we are going to really do this. At the launch stage, you can now start to attract investment. You can start to buy things. You know that I've got a business model here, it's going to work. So you then launch it. You can launch it on Facebook. You can launch it at your premises. You can make a big noise officially, or you can do a soft launch where you just increase your online presence, for example, or your presence in different markets and so forth. You are now doing it. There's no question about it. This thing has been tested, it's going to work. So you start to do it. All right. So that's where we say you're now at the launch phase. Okay. So that's where you are free now to go and really look for money, because you know that this thing is going to work. Now, from the launch phase, you move on to what is called straight into the growth phase. Now, when I say the growth phase, I mean it's usually a steep phase where there's a lot of desire and demand for your products. Demand sometimes might even be outstripping supply. So you're going to see a steep growth curve, all right? Because now you've also put steroids on this thing. You've put money into this. You're hiring more people and so forth. What is important is always make sure that it's an efficient model, okay? Don't have an overblown budget or expenses or costs. Don't carry it. Just always make sure that your business is always efficient, so that if you need to make changes quickly, you can do that. Okay, so that's what the growth phase is. So the growth phase takes you now to that level where you're going to be a market leader. All right, you are now going to be a market leader. So from the growth phase, you then go into what is called the maturity phase. So the maturity phase is where now your company is matured. Even in your industry, maybe like the e-commerce industry is coming to a place where it's now maturing. And in that situation, you start to have now market leaders emerging. That's when you start to have a few market leaders emerging. And what you want to do is you want to be one of the market leaders. So your journey from concept, let's actually say from you getting your inner game right all the way to the maturity phase, your journey has got one purpose. It is for you to become a market leader. It must make you money. All right, it must make you money. So from the maturity phase now, this is where you know your margins, you've got an established market, you know you've got your customers. Now remember, it's very important to understand this. 75% of your revenue comes from 25% of your customers. So spend a lot of money in customer retention. In other words, don't treat your customers who have come to you lightly. All right, it costs a lot to get a new customer, whereas an old customer costs literally an email to say thank you to retain. Okay, so never take for granted your customers. You must always invest in your customer care. All right, now when we get to the maturity phase, two things can happen. You can go into decline where your products are no longer as desirable as they used to be. There was a time when there was massive load shedding in South Africa. We saw tremendous boom in business overnight because we also sell energy efficient products, right? But with the load shedding ending, we also saw a drop. What happens there? It means that season is over. You know, that run is over. So the next thing usually is decline. So when you start to say decline, you must do one of two things. You must either close the business and sell it. So that depends now on your exit strategy. When you start a business, you must already have an exit strategy. As I go into this business, what is my exit strategy? Is my exit strategy to hand over to my kids, my children, my family, or is my exit strategy to sell while I'm at the peak and then I cash out and I make a lot of money and then I go and invest in property or do other things? That's up to you. But you can't go into business without some sort of exit strategy. Are you building this for life or are you building to sell it? So if you are building to sell it, you must then build it to become a sellable asset, a very attractive asset, and you market it as such. When you want to raise funding as well, remember your business becomes an asset that you show your investors to say it is worthwhile investing in my business because you will get these returns. So build your business to be a very attractive asset from the get-go, all right? And your exit strategy is not going to be very difficult. Now, let us say you don't want to sell it, you want to continue the business, but you can see that you're at the maturity phase. If you don't want to go into decline, then you must do something that we call pivoting. You must pivot or pivot. So when you pivot, we have what is called an inflection point. All right. If you did maths or physics, whatever, or even finance and all of that, you would know what I mean by an inflection point. An inflection point is where the graph ticks upwards again. All right. So you must do something that energizes and rejuvenates your business and causes your business to go up again. So normally what then happens is that you would then introduce a new product, or you would open a new market, or if you were just having a physical store, you would probably open a digital side or an online, or if you're online only, maybe you would then go and open a physical store in a busy place. But there has to be something that you do. So when you start to see sales declining, don't work hard doing the same thing. Find something that's going to cause a pivot. Pivot to something, all right? In some cases, you may completely pivot to a new model altogether, and then you restart the cycle, all right? Now you're already going into the growth phase of another industry. So you must always be aware of trends in the market, all right? So you must pivot, and then you keep on pivoting and so forth. It will happen a couple of times over the life cycle of your business. Now, I think that I've said quite a lot in a very short space of time. This is what I call the ABCs of venture creation, or the ABCs of starting a business. Remember, this method helps you to start a business in an efficient and inexpensive way. Now remember this again, when you fail successfully, okay? Fail successfully. When you fail, and rather than closing your business and leaving everything and now finding yourself really down and out, you must take the lessons that you've been learning, because remember, you haven't been spending a lot of money if you are using this methodology. Every time you fail, you are learning something, and then you take it, you apply it, so you fail successfully, okay? So if you're a true entrepreneur, you never fail forever for good. You fail successfully. Within every failure is a lesson that you can apply to do well next time, all right? Okay, I think let me stop here. If you have any questions that you would like me to address in the next one, just write them in the comment section, and I'll take time during my next episode to answer and respond to you. If you've got a business idea that you'd like to discuss with me and you want mentorship or guidance or whatever, you can always reach out to me. I do consult, but consulting is not for free. This kind of coaching is for free, but if you're going to consult, that's my time now. I have to charge. And I charge according to the value that I deliver, all right? All right, thank you so much. I really believe that you guys got something out of here. Let's hope that there are a lot of kingdom entrepreneurs who tuned into this program. One of my callings is to raise kingdom entrepreneurs who fund the kingdom and do good there rather than just become selfish people who consume everything. So remember, God will bless you in such a way that you have enough for yourself, and with the excess, do other things for the kingdom. All right. So God bless you and all the best with your business ideas. Remember, don't doubt yourself. The most important rule in business is just start. You figure everything out. God bless you.